Hi, my name is Savannah, and welcome back to my crafting podcast. In this podcast, I mainly talk about knitting, but there's also spinning, crochet, sewing, lots of other things. But yeah, welcome. I realized that maybe I should start taking notes during the week for this podcast because for at least the last 2 weeks, every time I finish my podcast and I'm going to edit it, I realize I forgot to mention things that I wanted to say or show you, and I'm just like, well, crap. And it's not like important things where I'm going to go back and like insert like a mini clip about it. So yeah, I need to maybe start taking notes. Did I take notes for this one? No. Will I forget something? Quite possibly, but that's okay, right? As long as the things that I mainly want to talk about get put in here, that's what matters to me. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I have a little bit of it's all over the board today, really. I feel like it's all over the board. So we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. We're going to go ahead with my main project. This is the Rose Cardigan by Andrea Mowry. I've come a long way since I've showed you. So last week, I want to say you know what? I don't know if I was on the third quadrant or the fourth one. I'll be honest, I don't know. Probably the fourth, but I can't remember. Anyways, let's just say I went ahead and got that fourth quadrant finished. I quickly washed and blocked it before I had to go to work. One of these past days. It was either Wednesday or Thursday. I don't remember exactly which day it was, but I quickly washed and blocked it before I went to work so that when I came home from work, it would be hopefully dry. It was not fully dry, but that was okay. Yeah, I have since you've last seen it, I have seamed all the quadrants together and added one of the cuffs. This one I just finished yesterday, this cuff. So for the back, you don't actually take these stitches off the needles. Like you put them on like, what do you want to call it? Like waste yarn, or I have those tubes, those silicone tube cords that everybody likes to use. They're not barber cords. I bought these off Etsy. You know what? I'll link to them in case you want to try them, but not have to pay the high cost for actual barber cords. So I bought some and then I cut them down to the size that I needed, but I have a whole bunch. Put that on there. They're silicone, so you can put them in the water as well. But what you do is you pick the back pieces up off of your holding style, and you do a 3 needle bind off. So that is what I did here. I did a 3 needle bind off. Everything has to get reblocked afterwards. I'm a little nervous about the puckering here, but I feel like it puckers a little, like it might have been a little too tight. I didn't even pull tight. A normal cast off, just a normal, when they say like bind off in pattern or 3 needle bind off, where you're going to go ahead and, knit one, knit the next, and then slip it over. No matter how hard I try to keep everything loose, that typically ends up being quite tight. So it has a little bit of stretch, but barely any. I can feel the resistance. I'm hoping it all works out. So for the top of the sleeves along the cable, you actually do a mattress stitch, but you do it from the wrong side. So technically it's from the knit side. So the seam is actually exposed. This was really, really easy to do. I did not mind doing this. Everything worked out. It's beautiful, very seamless on the knit side. And then it gives you this beautiful little seam down the middle I'm trying to see what, or get it. There we go. See the seam between the cables? Really nice detail. Looks really good. Doing the body, like the underarm, doing the underarm section, you're actually doing that from the right side so you don't have a seam. Andrea Mowry does, she has a video tutorial on how to do this, but she does say that you can do it the opposite way so you have an exposed seam if you want to. I just did it the way that she suggested, where you are going to seam it so that the seam, you sew it so the seam is on the inside. This was a lot harder doing it on the purl side. I didn't feel like it was going really well. It just doesn't look that great. It works, thankfully, but I got that all done. So that's thankfully all finished. I did forget to mention, so that last piece that I washed and blocked, which was, I think it was this piece, actually, this front panel was finished. Because I was in such a hurry, I must have like accidentally aggressively blocked it, because when it was all finished drying, I laid it out on top of this so that I could start pinning them to, well, yeah, I clipped it all together and I made sure to try to line up the stripes. And I realized that there was it was a lot bigger. This front panel was a lot bigger than the back. And I was like, oh crap. I know I was following a chart, so I know I didn't accidentally like add any I didn't add any extra repeats to the pattern because I was following a chart and marking every single row. So I know it wasn't that. So I was like, okay, well, I must have stretched it a little too much when I blocked it. And I was starting to worry a little bit, like what was I going to do? But then I was like, wait, this is 100% wool. How about I just spray it with some water and throw it in the dryer for a few minutes? And I did. I went and sprayed it a little bit just so it was a little damp. And then I tossed it in the dryer for probably like 2 minutes. I was too scared to leave it on for longer. And when I pulled it out and laid it back on top of the other piece, it fit perfectly. I was like, heck yeah, that's awesome. I was so happy about that. So yeah, I got all of that seamed up, and then I went ahead and added this cuff. So you just pick up the stitches. So if you've watched my last video, I mentioned that I had accidentally cast on for the extra small size, and you cast on right here. So I was really worried about the circumference and how tight it was going to be, because I was technically 8 stitches short all the way around, because I was missing 4 stitches from each side. And I had carried on two of those two of the quadrants had that mistake, and so I continued on and made that same mistake with the other 2. So I was a little nervous. I didn't need to be. It fits just fine. It's not tight. And then what I did pick up the required number for my size, the small, and I was still able to pick up the number, even though it's 44 to 52. Is that 8? I don't know. I was able to pick up my correct number regardless. So I was like, okay, good, awesome. So I did that. While I was knitting this, I got about 3 inches in, and I decided to try it on, and then I realized, I'm like, technically I don't really need the full length of the cuff that is that's stated in the pattern, because my sleeves are longer. I'll show you. How do I want to explain this? So the way it looks in Andrea's picture, her cuffs come to about here, and they're here, but there's a lot of bunching of the fabric sleeve in this area. And I was like, okay, let's see here, let me try this on. I don't know if you what you can see. I did about a 1/2 inch. Whoa, I'm gonna fall. I did about a 1/2 inch less, but look, I don't know if you can see. This hits right about here. It hits right at my wrist without the cuff. So I was curious, you know, I was like, well, do I do the full 6.5 inches or just do 3 inches? But because I don't think, or this isn't going to change much because the collar is kind of wide. The collar is going to be wide already, so I don't think, you know, this is going to be pulled up any more than what it already is. It is quite a wide neck. But I decided that, hey, I'll just go ahead and knit until I am happy. So I think I did just 6 inches, not 6.5, because I can actually, I was kind of excited about the prospect of, if I'm not comfortable with it being all the way down on my hand, like say in the summer, because I do wear cardigans in the summer, and this is a pretty lightweight one as well. This yarn is really, while it's 100% wool, it is very light and airy, but I can fold it down if I need to, which, like, I've never had such a perfect, I've never had such a perfect length sleeve, I swear. But that's really nice to have too. But hers has a lot of extra fabric, like here in the picture, and I'm like, I don't want all that if I can help it. If it happens, it happens. I don't mind. But these cables are gorgeous. I don't want to like hide them in ruffled fabric. But yeah, I think this is a pretty good length. I'm really happy with having sleeves that fit me. So I'm really excited to have this. It is a little itchy at the moment, but just right here on my wrist. And I'm wondering if it's because of all the, and there are so many ends that I need to weave in on this thing. It's nuts. So maybe I'll just wear this for a little bit longer. So it's really oversized. So once the other cuff is finished, I'm going to go ahead and pick up and knit the ribbing for the bottom. And then you knit the band. What do you call this thing when it's not an actual button band? Like there's no buttons. What do you call that? Just a collar? Is that all that you call it? Anyways, so again, it is a little short this way, but I think obviously that'll be fixed with the ribbing. She recommends only about 4 inches, but we'll see. And that will be knit in, I think, this color. I thought it was this color that it was knit in, but I believe it's this color, the lighter pink. And then the button band is done in the white. Okay, so that's all of that. Oh, I should mention the yarn. Sorry. So the yarn that I'm using for this is Holst Garn Super Soft. It is 100% wool. It is a light fingering weight. It is a little bit scratchy at first, but once you wash it, like this is really nice and soft. It's just here because it's really snug against my arm. And then this part's not even washed at all. This is just the straight up yarn. So it does soften up nicely. It's such a nice yarn to use. I have so much of it. I'm gonna have lots of garments in yarn, in this type of yarn. So yeah, this is the ecru color, the candy floss color, allium, and peony. So the colors that I chose for this. Okay, let's move along. The only other thing that I've been working on is the granny hexagon cardigan for my friend's daughter. This one's going a lot slower than the one for my daughter, but that's okay. That's okay. So here is 1/2. So I managed to get this bit done, add 2 extra rows on the sleeve. I have a little bit less yarn. Like I weighed my daughter's cardigan. I weighed it and it was about 300 grams. and that's with the cuffs and the trim. So I weighed that rainbow yarn that I had, the Sasquatch, and it was definitely not close to 300 grams. So I was like, oh crap. Okay, so I had to kind of figure it out. I did have some of the yarn. So the yarn that was missing from this cake was actually in a shawl that I wove on my triangle loom. So yesterday I went ahead and pulled most of it apart. I did not use all of it. So I am still less than 300 grams. So I'm kind of, I did one less full round around the hexagon before I joined it. I tried it on my daughter. It still fits just fine. So I just did one extra round, and then I left it here at two rounds. I'm going to leave it here, and then I'm knitting, or not knitting, I'm crocheting the second panel from the outside. So this was the outside of that cake, some of it, not the full thing. I did not use all of it. So this is from the outside. So I'm starting in the middle, and then I'm going to go and see where I'm at and hope for the best that I don't have to, if I have to do like, so I plan to do the cuffs in possibly white. I think cream would probably be a better choice, but I don't know if I have cream. I know I have white. So if I have to do the cuffs in the trim in white, that's fine. But the panel going up the middle to make the neck opening, I'm not sure if that's going to have to be white, because I don't know how much yarn I'm going to have left over, if any. So I'm kind of just playing by ear. Unfortunately, also, this one has a lot of ends, because when I was unweaving the shawl, it would get to the point where it was just too long of a thing and it kept knotting. So I would just break it and then keep going from there. So I'll have to do a lot of weaving in of ends, but it is coming along. The colors are really, really pretty, but it's going to be opposite. It's going to be this side is going to be these colors. So it transitions from, you know, these blues kind of lighten until it gets to the green, and then yellow, and then orange. So it's going to be a little different, but that's what else I've been working on. I've been dealing with a little bit of wrist pain this week, and I'm not sure if it's because I am crocheting a lot more than I normally do. And I noticed when I crochet this wrist, actually, while I hold the hook in this side, I am twisting this wrist a lot more than what I do in knitting. In knitting, I actually, it's mostly just probably like this, if any movement. So I've been dealing with a little bit of wrist pain, so I have been a little bit slower this week with things. This is weird having one and then none. It feels a little strange. Go ahead and roll that one down then. Okay, what else? So what I forgot to mention last week that I wanted to show you, even though it is a complete fail, I still wanted to show you my fail. I had the bright idea to take my Centro knitting machine. You have a panel option on that machine. So I was like, okay, let's go ahead and try that. So I went ahead and knit a panel, and I wanted to use it for a project bag. So yeah, I didn't follow any pattern. I just kind of used my knowledge of bag construction, like box bottom bag construction. This ended up being way too skinny and way too tall. Way too skinny, way too tall. Very sloppily put together, but knitting or trying to sew knitted fabric is not easy at all. I mean, it's cute, I love it, but and I lined it really crappily so that nothing pokes out through the knitting, but it's not straight. It's puckered a little bit here at the top. It's just, it was a fail. It did not work for me. yarn is way too stretchy. I mean, I believe this is a superwash yarn. It's a DK weight. I didn't bring the tag over. This was a gifted skein of yarn in a swap, and I figured I'd use it. I probably should have just used it for socks. Well, it's a DK, but I could have still used it for socks. But it was an experiment that I tried. It did not work out as well as I wanted it to. This bag needs to be shorter and wider. But yeah, that's what I wanted to share last week, and I completely forgot. So I had some yarn left over from that, not a lot, so I decided to crank it up into a tube on the central machine and just make a hat. I think it'd fit a kid a little bit better, but it needs a pom-pom. Actually, it fits fine. It needs a pom-pom though. I don't have any pom-poms, and there's no yarn left. If I try to cut this out, this is actually gonna just well, you can't see it, but I cut, after I sewed it, I trimmed the edge. So if I were to undo this is just going to fall apart. It's all like little strands now. So that wouldn't work, but then I think it just needs a pom-pom, but it fits my head. It's really stretchy. So, that's all I did with the rest of it. Yeah, experimentations. I kind of wish it would have worked because that would have been really pretty project bags to have, but it's okay. All right, last fiber yarny thing. Yeah, last yarny thing. So I didn't work on these, but I wanted to go ahead and show this to you. So I'm sure you've seen my sock. I have not knit on this in 2 weeks. I have decided that I'm going to go ahead and rip this back, and I'm going to knit them on my, what are these? These are the Addy Flexi Flips. Let's see, get my face out of there. They're the Addy Flexi Flips. So these say US 1, but they're actually a 2.5 millimeters, so they're technically a 1.5. These are what I knit my first pair of socks on. And it was using this style of yarn too, the Patton's Croy. This, whoa, Patton's Croy. This is a big box store yarn. It is a sock yarn. It's 100%, I'm trying to find. It's 75% wool, 25% nylon, but it is on the thicker side. Probably close to a sport weight. And my first pair of socks used with these needles, which I'll show you more in just a little bit, and this type of yarn are my favorite. I have used this style of yarn with the this needle in the past, this US one, an actual 2.25 millimeter, and they're a little too tight. Just not as comfortable as my first pair. So what I'm going to do is just rip this all back out. I'm not going to be too upset about it, and knit them on these, the 1.5. I have my Chagu mini set now. I could probably do them on a 1.5 there too, right? Does it come with a 1.5? I'll have to double check, but these aren't terrible to use. So Flexi Flips, so you get 3 double pointed needles. And in the middle is the flexi bit. So these are really, really nice to use. On one side is a sharper tip. I don't know if you can see that. And then on the opposite side is a duller tip. So it's whatever you prefer to use. I prefer to use the sharper tip. It's just my preference. But yeah, I'm not working on these socks because I'm just dreading the fact that they're going to be too tight. I wash all my socks in the wash machine. I throw them into a delicate bag, like a lingerie bag or whatever you want to call it. I throw my socks in there, throw them into the wash machine, and then I hang them to dry. So they do shrink just a little bit. So I'm just I don't want them to be uncomfortable. Plus, I didn't make them as tall as I would have preferred. So I'm going to go back and fix those, and hopefully I'll get them knit up faster. All right, so the yarn that I'm using is the Rose Brown Marl, right? I think that's what it's called. Brown Rose Marl. And then the cuff and the heel so far is in flax. Again, it's the Patton's Croix sock. That's really nice. Also, I plan to, I don't know, I want to start them ASAP, but I was watching somebody on YouTube. It was her knitting. I think it was like one of her like finished parade or something like that. To be honest, she doesn't post very often on YouTube, so I cannot remember her name or her YouTube channel or anything like that because she's newer to me and she doesn't post very often. So I apologize for that, but she was going crazy praising Let Lopey socks. The pattern is by, I don't remember who the pattern's by. I'll insert the name. But it's Let Lopey socks. You use Icelandic Let Lopey, the scratchy yarn, and make socks. And this lady was saying that they're absolutely amazing. And yes, Let Lopey is scratchy. It is a little uncomfortable. But when I knit a pair of slippers using Rauma yarn, that is also, it's not as scratchy as Let Lopey, but I found that it was incredibly comfortable on my feet. My feet are not sensitive to scratchy yarn. So I'm just like, yes, please. I want a pair of Let Lopey. I have like 4.5 balls, 50-gram balls of Let Lopey left over from when I made my Felix pullover. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that. I mean, I think you only need 2 balls for that. So I'm going to use that since I have leftover and make socks. I don't want to start them. I just want them. That's a problem, right? I'm trying to not start too many things. I have things I need to finish. So, but socks are socks. Socks are easy. They shouldn't be, I don't think socks should be put off. If you are a sock knitter, like I feel like I need to have those all the time. So I really should just get them going because I know I'm going to enjoy them. Okay. So that's it for all the yarn stuff. I did order some yarn, but it is not here yet. I did talk about how I ordered from Creative Knitter her, oh gosh, what was it even called? It was the romantic movie thing. I did order more yarn this Friday from Bumblebee Acres Farm. They released their Zodiac collection, and I thought the colorways were beautiful. So I decided to order my daughter's Zodiac sign colorway and then my Zodiac colorway. Both are beautiful. I'm going to make a pair of socks for my daughter with hers, and then there'll be enough for me to probably have a pair of socks as well. And then I'll knit a pair of socks out of mine. I wanted to get my son's Zodiac sign as well, but while it was beautiful, it just wasn't, it honestly looked like these 2 colors mixed together plus a little bit of purple because my son's a Pisces. So I was like, well, you know, that's something that I could do myself. I had thought about getting him, you know, his skein and then making him a pair of socks as well, but the colorway just wasn't it for me. So I skipped out on that. Plus that saved me a little bit of money there, but because I swear all the yarns are so expensive lately. It sucks. But it is what it is. But yeah, I'm excited to get those. I'm not sure when they'll ship. But those are socks that I want to try getting knit up this year. Yeah. Okay, moving on. I printed a sewing pattern and I need to put it all together. That's the only sucky thing about there wasn't even an option to get this printed in the was it A0 size? Is that what that's called? Where you just get a giant, you send it to like a place that can print giant things. There wasn't even an option. This is like 66 pages for this pattern. But this is the skirt pattern. I believe I showed it last week. I decided to get the one without the train. I had done a bit more research into the Amazon skirts that I showed. I'd read more reviews, and a lot of people said it was only one layer of tulle in most of those skirts. I think all of those skirts, it was just one layer of tulle, and I want at least 2 or 3. So I was like, okay, my lip is gonna split. I can feel it. So I decided to go ahead and purchase the pattern. I kind of wish that there had been more information or more reviews. I definitely need to place my review on this. I'm sorry, it hurts. On this pattern. All it was the pattern, how to lay it out, and then there was 7 steps on how to sew the skirt. That's it, 7 steps. It wasn't even paragraphs, it was sentences. 1, this, 2, this, 3. I was like, it's a good thing that I know kind of what I'm doing. I do prefer hand holding when it comes to sewing patterns and pictures. Yeah, I think it's just 7 steps, and they're not in depth at all. So I'm just like, well, that's not good. But I already paid for the pattern, and it wasn't a cheap pattern. It was over $10. I think it was $15, $16. So it's kind of expensive there as well. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to putting all these together. I hate this part of the job, but I'm gonna do it. I have looked around for tulle, and I'm gonna do a satin underlayer as well. I found a website called bbcrafts.com, and it really looked kind of fishy. I could get 40 yards of tulle for $10. And I was like, well, that's a really great price, but that almost seems too good to be true. And I'm glad that I went ahead and tried to find reviews. Everybody says that the company sends the wrong thing or the wrong color often, and then there's no customer service, or customer service is really, really bad. They state that you can return things, but according to reviews, there's no refunds at all. So I had to skip out on that. So then I decided to look at Joann's, at least on the website. And it's going to be definitely a little bit more expensive. But so I'm hoping President's Day, they'll have a big sale. That's what my friend said. She's like, wait till President's Day. Around that time, they should have some good sales. So hoping. I also want to see the tools in person, like the colors, because I think I want ivory. But then I was thinking maybe I want the palest of pink. I don't know. So there's that. And then I'm going to need to start the sweater top, knitting that soon. So I went ahead and purchased the George sweater by Joanna G. I did purchase that sweater pattern. I have to go ahead and I did also think, I'm like, there is a sweater that I am waiting for to be released. I'm waiting for it to be released. This beautiful pattern. It's called Usagi, by Diz Yarning, I believe, on Instagram. That's her name. She has this beautiful sweater coming out February 17th. It's like, it comes like this. There is all lace up here, and then the whole back, well, not lace, I'm sorry, I take it back. It's all mohair it's like shaped like this. It goes, and then like that kind of, I'll insert the picture. Mohair, and then there's a lace panel down the back and down the front. Absolutely gorgeous. That would work really well as a wedding top. I think it'd be beautiful. But I don't think I want to knit that in like bare yarn. So it's really a toss-up. I'm like, because I wouldn't want to knit both of them in bare yarn, or, you know, like a whiter color, ivory color yarn. Because that would be a lot of boring color. Color is helpful when it comes to knitting. So I wouldn't want to do two back-to-back cream colored tops. So I'm not sure. I think I'll just go ahead and start knitting the George sweater soon. I was hoping to get this one done a little bit quickly so that I could start that one without having this one still on the needles, because I feel like I would get super distracted. That's what happens, is I start something new and then I get like joy out over that new thing, and then I don't go back to the old thing until much later. But yeah, there's all the plans there. So hopefully soon you'll be starting to see some of those progresses. All right, lastly is my virtual challenges. I wanted to go ahead and update you on those. I know I talked about them like 2 or 3 weeks ago. How I decided to start a virtual challenge. It's called the Conqueror, where it's you sign up, and for wherever they have so many different available options. You go ahead and sign up, and then you have the app, and then you just track your any kind of movement that you do, whether it be walking, running, biking, your elliptical, any kind of movement. Your steps even can count towards this. Yoga counts to it. There's like a conversion chart that says every 10 minutes of yoga equals 1 mile of walking. So I just found that out. But yeah, so I did talk about that. I kind of explained it as best that I could. So I actually finished 2 of my challenges. I finished the flower route and the West Coast Trail. I finished those within, I think it was 10 days, 9 or 10 days. So I did it a lot quicker than I thought, because I do actually move a lot more than I expected, because every little bit of movement, and I'm going to be honest, knitting and crocheting count as movement. While it's still a small amount, it still counts, and I am going to take that since it is winter and I am not getting out as much. The only time I get out is when I am at work. So I finished these 2 and I got my medals. They're beautiful. I took them to work so I could show my coworkers, and they're like, oh my gosh, those are amazing, and they want to sign up now. But I have my medals on their plaques. Let me go ahead and show you the plaque real quick before I show the medal. But I ordered these plaques off Etsy. These are 3D printed. They just look like this. You fish your ribbon through so it can hold it, and then you can hang these on the wall. I'm about to hang mine on the wall. I just wanted to show you guys first. But here is the flower route, which is in the Netherlands. This one is 41 miles or 66 kilometers. This is what the medal looks like. And I wish I could just hand it to you, because they are really heavy. These are thick, heavy metal. If you swung them around and you hit somebody, they could do some damage. But look at that. So that spins. It says right here your miles, kilometers, and it says virtual challenge. Flower route, Netherlands. It's metal. And on the back is this. And when you spin the windmill, it actually changes from night to day. Isn't that fun? So this one's beautiful. So here's how you wrap the ribbon in there. And so it just says make every mile count on the ribbon. And then so I'm going to go ahead and hang this on my wall. I don't think you can see, but I'm going to put it right over here, because I have this like little bit of wall. I figured this can go there. So there's that one. And then the West Coast Trail. This one was 47 miles or 76 kilometers. This one's so beautiful. So this is what it looks like. This one opens And it's not a real compass, but you can spin the little needle. And then on the back, it's just this beautiful, oh, it's reflecting. Oh, shoot. It's this beautiful, I wish you could see it better. See, and you got this, what is it called? It's a shipwreck. So it's a ship, it's underwater. You have a lighthouse, and the stars up here are raised so you can feel them. It's really, really pretty. Really pretty. And then the ribbon is really pretty too. I like those colors. So it's got the leaves all over it. These style right here. So yeah, I'm just like, oh, it's so pretty. So I'm still working at my Icelandic one. I am about 100 miles into it out of 828. So I got a while to go, which is fine with me. I think what I'm going to do is sign up for one of these each month. I think that is what I'm going to do. So next month, February, I'm trying to debate if I want to do Everest, Mount Everest, or somebody showed their beautiful, their medal was, it was the trek to Petra in Jordan. And that medal was absolutely gorgeous. So I don't know if I want to do the trek to Petra, which I think that one's only like, I can't remember how many miles it was. I think it's under 50. I think so. Or Mount Everest, which is 39 miles. So I don't know yet. I have to make my decision. It's about $30 to sign up for one medal. I still have my referral code down in the description to get you 10% off your first challenge if you'd like. And you get these wonderful medals. I love them. These are 100% worth it. So yeah, the referral code is down in the description. You can use that. My friend was very interested, my coworker. She was like, these are amazing. She's like, is there one for Japan? And we looked, and there is Mount Fuji. So whenever she gets around to signing up, I think that's the one that she's going to do, Mount Fuji, because she lived in Japan for a few years, I think. I know she lived there. I just don't know how long she lived there, and she really liked it. So heck yeah, I wish there was one for Korea. I would totally do that. But yep, I wanted to go ahead and show you those. I'm going to get them hung up now, finally. And then yes, I have the extra plaque at the moment for my Icelandic one. Granted, I'll probably just have to go ahead and order more, because this one will probably go to February's medal. Because Iceland's going to take forever, but that's okay. If you have any questions about the Conquer virtual challenges, go ahead and leave me a comment, and I will answer your question to the best of my ability. It's super fun. It really, really is. Okay, I don't have anything else to talk about. I do hope that you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next weekend.